Praise be to my Lord, Allah. Praise Him every day. Praise be to my Lord, Allah. Praise Him every day. In the morning, praise in the evening, praise Him every day.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So in the last episode we discussed some of the traps, starting from the most severe, the trap of kufr. And if you cannot fall into this trap, Shaitan will try to get you with the next trap, which is the trap of bid'ah, reprehensible innovation in the religion, in acts of worship. If he cannot get you to commit a bid'ah, Shaitan will try to employ the next trap and the next tactic and the next attack, which is the trap of major sins. And we mentioned the in-depth description and the difference between major sins and minor sins. And the trap after the major sins is the trap of minor sins. And if he cannot get you to commit minor sins, then Shaitan will come to you and try to get you to waste time with something which is mubah, something which is permissible, but it is not rewarding, because he knows you won't fall into the minor sins at this point. And so we mentioned that if you pass this level, if you're too smart and too cunning as a believer, you're wise, and you know not to waste your time with something which is permissible, and to do that which is actually more rewarding. So Shaitan will come to you now with another tactic, which is to waste your time to do something less rewarding than something that is more rewarding. So he wants to distract you with something less rewarding than that which is more rewarding. So imagine for a moment, you're deciding at night between praying or reciting Qur'an. And so we know that praying at night is better than reciting Qur'an, because the prayer is more rewarding and it includes the recitation of the Qur'an. And so Shaitan wants you now to recite Qur'an at this moment. Imagine, Shaitan is so desperate. At this point, he's employing the tactic of advising you to do good so that you don't do something better. And we seek refuge in Allah from that. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah, he said about tahajjud, about prayer at night, he said, tahajjud is for myself, but the actions of the entire ummah are for everyone. And so I would rather do what is going to help more people than what will help less people. Think for a moment. He wanted to do that which is more helpful to more people than that which is helpful only to himself. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he tells us that the best form of worship is what? What is the best form of worship? He said the best act of worship depends on the time and the place to see what is best in that time and place. The best act of worship, the best way to worship Allah depends on the time and the place, and for you to identify what is best for that time and for that place. Furthermore, in the salah, we are not allowed to speak. So if the imam makes a mistake in the prayer, then according to the majority of scholars, you can correct the imam. The sunnah is to correct him, and there is more reward to do this than to stay silent. So the sunnah in following the Prophet ﷺ is to correct the reciter, the one who is reciting in the salah, and the women should clap their hands in order to let the imam know that there has been a mistake, in order not to raise their voices in the salah. Now sometimes parents may do things to their children which lower their self-esteem or self-worth. Parents oftentimes do things to their children that decrease or lower their self-esteem. So it is common in some communities, for example, around the world, especially Western communities where there are a lot of Muslims, they will say that your children, my son or my daughter, have to become doctors or lawyers or something that has a high income. So they will kind of force them and pressure them to do this. And this might not be everyone's strength. It might not be everyone's passion or desire. And they might have a very tough time succeeding in this, or they might be failing actually. So the child might not think they're that intelligent or that smart academically. The strength of that child might be in a different area. And so this example, it is from the example of fiqh and understanding what is the correct thing to do in the time and the place, to look at the strengths and weaknesses of their children and encouraging them to do that which is better for their strengths. And so this applies to even acts of worship. This applies to ibadah. So for some people, they are not good at fasting the sunnah fasts. Mondays and Thursdays and the 3 days of every month. Some people are not good at that. That is a weakness for them. But it is easy for that person to wake up at night for qiyamul layl. That is a strength that they have. This is something they should focus on as a strength. And they should not lower their self-esteem because of their weakness in one area. And of course, without a doubt, they should try to strengthen themselves in the areas where they have weaknesses, but they should focus on their strengths. Now, the next trap of Shaitan is that he will come to the person to ruin their acts of worship, to ruin their acts of ibadah, to ruin the good things that they've done. And one example of this is to try to change a person's intention with what they did, to try to cause them to show off to the world with the good that they've done in order to ruin their good deeds. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, O you who have believed, لا تبطلوا صدقاتكم بالمن والأذى كالذي ينفق ماله رئاء الناس ولا يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, O you who have believed, do not invalidate your charities with reminders or injury, as does a person who spends his wealth only to be seen by the people, and this man does not believe in Allah and the last day. So what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say about this person? فَمَثَلُهُ كَمَثَلِ صَفْوَانٍ عَلَيْهِ تُرَابٍ فَأَصَابَهُ وَابِلٌ فَتَرَكَهُ صَلْدًا لَا يَقْدِرُونَ عَلَى شَيْءٍ مِّمَّا كَسَبُوا وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الْكَافِرِينَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says the example of this person is like a large or smooth stone or boulder upon which is dust, and it's hit by a downpour that leaves it bare. This person is unable to keep anything of what they have earned. So their act of worship has been removed or destroyed or nullified because of their intention. So because of their intention and even their action, their act of worship was ruined. And we mentioned this in length, the moment of hellfire, when those who are kindling the hellfire are thrown into there because of their intentions. Now, one of the biggest goals of Shaitan is to mess with our intentions, is to cause us to change our intentions to show off to the people or for something other than the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even long after you've stopped committing that good deed, Shaitan will come to you to try to ruin it. Now, if Shaitan cannot get you to do any of these things, what is the last thing that Shaitan will do? What is the last and worst trap of Shaitan and worst tactic of Shaitan against humans? So the thing that he will try to do next is an all-out attack, a complete attack on this person. So if Shaitan is unsuccessful in any of the traps that we mentioned, such as kufr, or bid'ah, or major or minor sins, or wasting time with that which is permissible, or choosing that which is less rewarding over that which is more rewarding, or ruining their acts of worship, then Shaitan will try to employ an all-out physical attack on this person. And if someone gets to this level, like a scholar gets to this level, this person is tested very severely. And when the iman of a person is this high, and at this degree, then the test will be at that degree as well, meaning the test will be as severe. So an example of this is the example of Umar radiallahu anhu. Umar was at a point where Shaitan could no longer get to him. And Umar was stabbed. He died after being stabbed by a Majusi man with a poison dagger. And so Umar radiallahu anhu, he was physically attacked by someone who basically is one of the awliya of Shaitan, one of the followers of Shaitan. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us, Islam began as something strange, and Islam will go back to being something strange. فَطُوبَى. So give glad tidings to those who are strange. Give glad tidings to those who are strange. This is reported in Sunan Ibn Majah. So all of the people of knowledge were tested in the past. If you read the biography of anyone who was righteous, any of the greatest scholars, they were tested in very severe ways. Imam Malik was beaten to the point where he could no longer lift his arms in some reports. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah was jailed most of his life. He didn't even get married or have children or anything like that. Many of the scholars, they were tested and tested and tested because of their high faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Shaitan, if he's unable to trap the believer with these traps, he proceeds by trying a physical attack on this person. He tries to get people to label this scholar or this person as a disbeliever or as an innovator or as misguided. He warns people against this person so that they no longer listens to him, and that might weaken the person's heart. So by using this method, he confuses a person's thinking and tries to prevent the people, the masses, from benefiting from this individual. That is his final attack. And so therefore the believer is at war until death. The believer is struggling against the traps of Shaitan until death. And whenever he gives up, he is hurt or taken captive. And so the believer is in a state of struggle, jihad against the nafs and against the traps of Shaitan until the day he meets with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so when you think about these traps, you have to realize that Shaitan might employ any of these traps against anyone. And even a person who, for example, is no longer committing bid'ah, somebody who's at the next trap, for example, they might commit minor sins or major sins every now and then. You have to realize that the traps that are less severe, Shaitan will still use these against a person. What do we mean by that? if someone is at the stage where they are committing a lot of major sins or minor sins, Shaitan will still also employ the other tactics. For example, this person who commits major sins wants to pray tahajjud and wants to read Qur'an. Shaitan still uses the tactic of having that which is less rewarding than that which is more rewarding. So they are still being trapped by this tactic of Shaitan that is less severe. So it's not necessary for a person to be at a certain level to be tested by any of these. Rather, Shaitan uses all platforms and employs all tactics simultaneously in ways that he knows will be useful and efficient against that individual. And we seek refuge in Allah from the traps and tactics of Shaitan. Now, can the devil become afraid of you if you become too pious? If you reach a point where you're better than all of these traps of Shaitan? Absolutely. So the example that we have is Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. We know that the Prophet ﷺ told us in a report by Tirmidhi, he said, most certainly the Shaitan, the devil is afraid of you, O Umar. In the hadith of Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas in Bukhari, the Prophet ﷺ said, I swear by the one in whose hand is my soul, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ, if he falls on your path, if Shaitan is walking on your path, and you're walking on this path, then he takes a different path than you. So if you're walking down the street, O Umar, and Shaitan is walking down the street, meaning he's coming this way, and he sees you, Shaitan will flee and run into the other direction, because he is afraid of the faith and iman of Umar radiyallahu anhu. Furthermore, we have the example from the Prophet ﷺ when he said, indeed, most certainly I can see the shayateen, the devils from humans and from the jinn. Most certainly I see them running away from you, O Umar radiyallahu anhu. And this is a beautiful example for us, that those who are righteous and they reach a high level of iman, even the devils will be afraid of coming near them. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from the traps of Shaitan. We're going to take a short break, inshaAllah ta'ala. When we get back, we will speak about the actual strategies that Shaitan employs, such as enticing people or making people fear him, and so on and so forth. Stick around, inshaAllah ta'ala, and we'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Praise Him every day.
Let's come under the shade of the scholars.
So the issue is a problem of knowledge.
Asim al-Hakim.
Why do people do bid'ah?
Imam Malik said, whoever claims there is a good innovation in the deen,
Salim al-Amri.
he is accusing that Prophet Muhammad did not convey the message.
Dr. Mamdouh Muhammad.
If you know that the Prophet ﷺ did something and I do something else, you have to follow the Prophet ﷺ. Don't follow me.
Abdul Rahim McCarthy.
But if each one believes his goal is to please Allah, to follow the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Abdul Rahim Green.
I think this really is to do with your internal state.
Where does the Quran and Sunnah point to?
Muhammad al-Sharif.
We have to follow what Allah and His Messenger said.
Let's imbibe from these scholars the fruitful solutions for the problems of the world.
Which one we would take and which one we would leave?
Question to every Muslim,
In the shade of the scholars. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. and repeat telecast at 5:30 a.m. Saudi Arabia on Peace TV. Courage it takes to stand up for what you believe in. Courage it takes to be true and righteous. Courage it takes to dare and answer your questions, be they social, political, economic, educational, or religious. To get clear and convincing answers,
test your courage and question me in Dare to Ask.
Dare to Ask, next on Peace TV.
Praise Him every day.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before we took a break, we discussed some of the traps of Shaitan that he employs against mankind. And we mentioned that if you become pious enough, Shaitan will become afraid of you. And the example that we gave is the example of Umar ibn al-Khattab. May Allah be pleased with him. When Shaitan would run away from him, not just the devils, but even the human shayateen, the human devils, those who follow the path of Shaitan, they would fear Umar and run away from him because of his high status. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to raise our iman and to protect us against the traps of Shaitan and to make us strong wherever and whenever we are. Now, some of the physical and actual strategies Shaitan employs with sins in our lives. And these are very common, and perhaps you can relate to many of these traps of shaitan, the strategies rather of shaitan. The first of these is when shaitan says, لَأُزَيِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَأُغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. So he's promising to make for us, human beings and the devils, to make attractive everything on the earth. لَأُزَيِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. He's going to decorate the sins. He's going to make the evil seem enticing. That is one of the strategies of shaitan. To make evil look enticing and appealing. To make it look like something that you desire so much. Something that will fulfill your pleasures and make you happy. And so shaitan uses this as an example. He will make this action seem pleasant to you. It will seem pleasant to you, but it is not truly pleasant. And so shaitan conceals from us when we're trapped by this trap. وَالْعِيَادُ بِاللَّهِ. He conceals from mankind the ill effects of that trap on society and on the individual. What do we mean by this? For example, shaitan will hide the fact of the issue of children being born outside of wedlock, outside of marriage, such as premarital intercourse. So he will have people not think about this issue or this problem that affects many people in our day and age. And by Allah, it is a sign of the day of resurrection and a sign of as-sa'ah, the hour. And so shaitan tries to make people forget about these issues, such as being neglected by parents or raised by a single parent. Shaitan also tries to hide the problems with other issues in society, such as intoxication and the effect of intoxication and the harms that come with intoxication. So he will hide this and he will make the sin look appealing. And so people will want to do the sin. They will want to indulge in the sin because it looks enticing, because it looks appealing. And shaitan said very clearly, لَأُزَيِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. I will make it look appealing to them. I will decorate for them everything on the earth that is disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, if any one of you sees something in another woman, meaning he's enticed in another woman, rush back or go back to your wife, for indeed your wife has what she has. What does this mean exactly? So one of the tricks of shaitan is to make people think that a foreigner or that something else or someone else out there has something better that you want, has something more appealing or enticing than what you have at home. And so shaitan makes this person look better to you so that you'll do that which is haram or prohibited, or you will ruin that which is permissible that you already had. And so he entices people to commit evil. So this is one of these strategies of shaitan. Another of the strategies that shaitan employs against mankind is misrepresentation of the sins. Misrepresenting sins. For example, this is when shaitan gives nice names to things that are evil. So for example, we have the ayah that we mentioned previously, where shaitan whispered to Adam alayhi salam, فَوَسْوَسَ إِلَيْهِ الشَّيْطَانِ قَالَ يَا آدَمُ هَلْ أَدُلُّكَ عَلَى شَجَرَةِ الْخُلْدِ وَمُلْكٍ لَا يَبْلَى. So shaitan whispered to Adam alayhi salam and he said, O Adam, shall I direct you to the tree of eternity, شَجَرَةِ الْخُلْدِ وَمُلْكٍ لَا يَبْلَى, and a kingdom or a wealth or possession that does not deteriorate, it does not run out. So he's enticing him by giving him a misrepresentation of the sin, by making it look like something permissible. So one example of this is to take the example of something like lewdness or immorality. So for example, immodesty, and to call it freedom of expression. Freedom of expression. In our day and age, currently in our day and age, it is more difficult for a Muslim woman around the world to wear the hijab. It is more difficult for a woman to wear clothes and to look modest than for a woman to remove the clothes and to be free, so and so. So they call it freedom of expression. And so shaitan uses the awliya, his followers of mankind and the devils, to make it look to society as something good. So they misrepresent the sin as something that is good or appealing or something that is desired by humans. And so another example of this is that a person may be committing a minor sin. And the shaitan will come to this person and make them think that this person has nothing to worry about because these are minor sins. And they will focus on the word minor, that they are not misrepresenting the issue. Rather, minor sins are still sins. They are still disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is how shaitan will come to certain people and rationalize the sins to them. Another example is that shaitan will come to some people, many people who actually pray and fast and they do a lot of good deeds. He will come to them and he will tell them that backbiting is commanding good and forbidding evil. Whereas when you think about it, you cause more evil by backbiting. Or when you try to advise someone in the wrong way by humiliating them in public, you think you're commanding good and forbidding evil, but you're causing this person to rebel, and you're causing this person to feel humiliated, and you're causing this person to commit more evil. And so the good is gone, and it was misrepresented as good. Rather, it was evil in disguise. So Iblis will tell people backbiting and other gossips and slander is good because you're commanding the good and forbidding the evil. And we seek refuge in Allah from this trap of Shaitaan. Another of the traps of Shaitaan is procrastination and laziness. And perhaps this is one of the most common traps. Prophet ﷺ told us, when you go to sleep, during your sleep, the Shaitaan will come to you and tie 3 knots at the back of your head. Shaitaan will tie 3 knots at the back of your head. And he will breathe the following words in each knot, and he will say, the night is long, so sleep. So sleep and sleep and sleep. And just stick to this laziness of sleep. Don't wake up for Fajr. Don't wake up for Qiyam. Don't wake up to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Prophet ﷺ told us, if that person wakes up and remembers Allah, the first knot is broken. And then he said, if that person performs wudu, ablution, then the second knot is undone. And then he said, if that person then stands up and they pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the knots are all completely undone. All the knots are undone, and they get up in the morning lively in good spirits. Otherwise, they will get up in low spirits and lazy. And this is reported by Al-Bukhari. So these people will get up feeling groggy for missing the Fajr prayer. And truly, if you miss the Fajr prayer, it will affect your entire day. And Iblis knows this, the Shaitaan knows this, so he will try to tie these 3 knots and make you forget about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that you'll miss the Fajr prayer. And so you'll feel lazy throughout your day. Prophet ﷺ told us that if you don't wake up for Fajr prayer, this laziness and grogginess will last for the rest of your day. And Shaitaan knows this and tries to use this against us. So the Prophet would warn us and tell us to seek refuge in Allah from laziness. And you can make any type of dua that seeks protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from Shaitaan and from laziness. Allahumma inna na'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-hazan wa min al-ajzi wal-kasal. And from laziness, having any kind of tiredness or laziness that plagues our productivity, our ability to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another example of this is that Shaitaan comes to a person who wants to perform Hajj, and he gets that person to think, although they are ready for Hajj, although they are prepared for Hajj, he wants them to think that, no, I don't need to do Hajj right now, I will do Hajj when I'm old. So they will procrastinate. Another example of this is delaying your tawbah. Delaying your tawbah, your return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is scary. So a person might fall into this trap of delaying their repentance to Allah, and they don't know when they will return to Allah, meaning they don't know when they will die in this world, when they will depart from this life. So if you procrastinate tawbah till tomorrow, are you guaranteed tomorrow? If you procrastinate tawbah till tonight, are you guaranteed tonight? If you procrastinate tawbah for 2 hours from now or 1 hour from now, do you know 100% that you will be alive 1 hour from now? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows when we will leave this world. And when the time of death comes, you won't have time to go back. You won't have a chance or opportunity to go back and repent. So Shaitaan wants people to continue procrastinating as long as possible. As long as you are breathing, Shaitaan wants you to procrastinate your tawbah, so that you'll be of those who die and you say, Rabbi irji'un, oh Allah, return me to this life. Return me to the previous life. Why? لَعَلِّي أَعْمَلُ صَالِحًا فِي مَا تَرَكْ, so that I can do something good with what I left behind. So this person will ask Allah to allow them to go back, but they won't be able to go back. Another example that is very common is when someone says, I will become a practicing or good Muslim after I get married. Another example is when someone will say, I will begin to wear the hijab after I get married. Another example is when 2 people say, we will become practicing Muslims after we have children. So they will continue to procrastinate, procrastinate, procrastinate. Shaitaan gives them this trap and feeds them this trap over and over and over. And it affects them and affects their descendants over and over and over. And we seek refuge in Allah from that. Now, one way to fight this is to be vigilant with all of your prayers. So a prayer puts you in check and it gives you a schedule of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet ﷺ told us, as was reported in Sunan of Tirmidhi, Shaitaan has given up hope that the people who pray will worship him. He gave up hope on these people. Shaitaan has given up hope that the people who pray will worship him. So he gave up on that. So a good fight for laziness is to seek refuge in Allah from Shaitaan and from laziness. And so we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from weakness and laziness and cowardice and miserliness. And it's always important to say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, throughout your day, as much as possible. You seek refuge in Allah from the Shaitaan, and you seek refuge in Allah from the traps of Shaitaan, and from the human beings who pull you to the traps of Shaitaan, and from those who want evil and harm for you. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who see the traps of Shaitaan from far away. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us in our ibadah, in our worship and servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This concludes our episode for today. When we continue next time, inshaAllah ta'ala, we will finish the final discussion on these traps of shaitan, on the strategy shaitan uses to pull us down into the hellfire. And after that, we will continue discussing the hellfire, inshaAllah ta'ala. We'll see you next time, inshaAllah ta'ala. Try to implement anything that you heard in this episode or previous episodes so that there's some benefit in that which comes to you in your life and an opportunity from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to benefit from the things around you in life. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us and to forgive us. Jazakumullahu khairan wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Praise be to my Lord.